Services Center Coordinator for Louisville Middle High School and the W.E.B. Du Bois Academy. I am not related to the principal. We just happen to share the same last name. I am related to Ms. Chanel, the social studies teacher by marriage. And I'd like to thank you all for coming out this morning to this meeting. It probably will not be the last meeting for those of you who will be going with us to Washington, D.C., but I felt like it was necessary for us to have this meeting this morning. A lot of you, we're going to go down the list on the agenda. A lot of you were asking about, there was some questions about fundraising for the trip to Washington, D.C. One of our families, a former young lion, came to Mr. Robert Gunn to offer a type of fundraising which involved cutting her lawn, or cutting their lawn. And unfortunately, that did not come into fruition. That was something that was brought to my attention, and I kept reaching out to that parent, and we kept getting communication mix-ups and everything, but that window has passed, and that was not something that I came up with. That was something that was brought to me. So I kept trying to reach her and find out what the details were, because that was not something that I organized. And so that's not something that we are going to pursue, unfortunately. So, but I did bring with me today, I just met with a representative from World's Finest Chocolate, and he presented me with a box. I'm going to talk to Mr. Gunn this week about pursuing trying to sell these candy bars, and I think it's a really good fundraising activity because they said 50% of the profit goes back to the school, and he also gives us, if for so many boxes that we agree to take, they also give us X number of boxes for free. So basically, if we sell from 100 to 199 boxes, I think we get 15 free boxes, so that goes towards our profit for sales. Or if something happens, you know, the boxes melt or whatever, then we can put that back into the pool. And I think it goes up for every 100. So for 200 boxes that we sell, it's 30 boxes that we get for free. So, how you doing? Got a sign-in sheet right here. So that's one of the things that we're considering for the fundraising. Is that something that you all want to do, or if there's, yes, Ms. White?
I have a question. For like the boxes, would it go to each child, or would it go into a big pool that gets divided up? Like if, you know, Ham sells two boxes worth, would it go into his account, or would it go to the general pool?
That is an excellent question. We have not worked out the particulars yet. That's something that I can bring to Mr. Gunn's attention and talk to him about if we do choose to pursue that. Now, I will say also, in addition to actual fundraising, we have received some donations from some outside sources, and we're going to talk about how we're going to use that money also. There was talk about if we have enough funds for everyone to go, maybe possibly using those funds for the students to spend while they're in DC, or maybe using towards a future trip. We haven't worked out any of the particulars yet for that. Speaking of the students who are going, it's like some of you, now how many people here have young lions who are receiving the Dwayne Scholarship by show of hands? Okay, for you, if you could keep your hands up for a minute, and if I could get, thank you. What's being passed out to you right now, after Ms. Duenas did the presentation during school, my inbox, my phone was flooded with parents asking, how do you register your young lion? We finally have a definitive answer for that. What's being passed out to you right now is the registration form. I don't only have 2 pens, but if you want to fill those out while you're here today, What I will do is take those back up after the end of this meeting, and I'm going to send them directly to the organization to have your child registered. So you don't have to turn in any funds to them. If you've already registered and given a deposit to World Strides, you will get that deposit back. You won't be able to get it back until the school district releases those funds to send to World Strides, and then World Strides will in turn that money back into you. I don't know how long that process is going to be. I know as a youth services center coordinator, we won't be able to put any of our budget on until July 22nd or 23rd. So I anticipate sometime at the latest in August, mid-August, that you will get your refund back, but you will get it back if you've already placed a deposit. Yes, ma'am.
So, since I have already registered, then, do I still need to fill this out?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Are there any other questions regarding the Duenas scholarship? You have a question, ma'am? No. Okay, that's okay. Chaperone expectations. Okay, who plans on going with us to the trip? Okay, I have to state this just to make sure that you do know you are a chaperone. Okay, that is, implied. Some people, well, I'm just going to Washington, D.C. No, we are a family. We are the W.E.B. Du Bois family. And with that being said, we are all responsible for all of the young lions who will be in our care on this trip. So anyone over the age of 18 must complete a background check with the district to go on a field trip. And that's any field trip that you go on with JCPS. They always want a background check. So this is the same for the field trip to Washington, D.C. Chaperones must remain with the students at all times. That doesn't mean, okay, well, we're finished with all the stuff we're doing with the kids. I'm going to go out and hit the clubs in Washington, D.C. No, sorry. It's not that kind of party. We are all about the young lions and about making sure that they have a great educational experience in Washington, D.C. And if you're attending the trip with us and you are 18 years old, you are a chaperone, please do not smoke in front of any students during the trip. If they have designated areas and you have to get that, nicotine fix or whatnot, make sure it's in a designated area and out of the view of the young lions. Please do not consume alcohol during the trip. I hate to say this stuff, it seems like it's pretty self-explanatory. But if you don't say it, let me tell you a true personal story. I was a student at the University of Louisville, and I had some new roommates. And my new roommates asked me, they said, do you mind if we smoke? I said, no, as long as it's outside on the balcony. I stayed in an apartment dorm, University Tower Apartments, right there on 3rd Street. They said, okay, great. I was studying one day, came back to my dormitory. Man, okay, young lions, cover your ears. Somebody's getting tore up out here. Somebody is really, getting a hit right now. What's going on? I get closer to my dormitory, I'm like, wow, they're inside my dormitory. They're getting lit up right now. They are in my apartment right now, getting tore up. Oh my gosh. And I asked my roommates, I'm like, what are y'all doing? They said, oh, you said you didn't mind if we smoked as long as we was out on the balcony. I said, cigarettes, man. Said, I'm not trying to get put out of school. So I have to say this stuff just to make sure that, everybody understands what's expected. This trip is for the students. Only designated site visits are allowed. After we do our field trip, if you decide, hey, like Ms. McDaniels, if you decide to take your son somewhere else after we do what we need to do, that's totally on you. You have to arrange your own transportation. Because we have a bus that will be working with us to transport the students to the different sites and everything. But if you decide after, hey, we want to go see X, Y, and Z, that's totally up to you. If you are with your child, you cannot take another person's child with you, even if you know them, even if you know their parents, because I'm not going to be held responsible if something happens. I like my job. I like working for the district. Yes, ma'am.
So what if somebody else is offering the DC trip for the same time, around this time, they're offering it to young lions? Can you be specific about liability issues with trying to just offer the DC trip at the same time, but outside of World Strides?
I don't understand your question.
Somebody has offered this trip to offer to book the trip for parents and students. If you can't, if the price is too high,
A travel agent.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Whatever you do with that entity is up to you. That means that you have to arrange your own travel to and from all the activities, arrange your own admission to and from the activities. That's on you.
I'm going to
Okay.
I just want to be specific,
Okay.
say, because, you know, my whole thing was, I feel like this is a school trip and the boys should go together.
Exactly.
And not outside, and, you know, another group, and then, you know, just to offer.
Yeah, and there's no guarantee that we will be together if they do that with another organization. And we're not going to provide any type of transportation if they get to and from, Washington DC. That's all on them. They're welcome to meet up with us, but if, like I said, earlier, anyone going on the designated trip, the official Washington DC trip with us, you are a chaperone for those students that are official students that go on that trip. So if they decide they want to do another trip, and they're welcome to meet up with us, but we're not responsible. I mean, I will still, if I see one of my students, someone say, hey, what you doing? But to be honest, but still, we're not responsible. So that's interesting. I didn't know about that. Thank you. If you have family in Washington, D.C., and you would like to see them during our visit, and would like them to visit our hotel or attend one of our site visits, please also submit their names to us and have them complete a background check as well. So, I know I have some family in Washington, D.C. I probably don't plan on visiting them while I'm there, because my main focus is the young lions. So, I'm not going to try to hook up with them, but I know some people have family members in D.C. And again, one of those obvious things that sounds like, I have to mention it just to make sure, Kentucky is a concealed carry state. No firearms are allowed on the trip. No firearms are allowed on the trip. I want to make sure that I say that the only guns that will be present on the trip have the last name of Gunn with 2 N's. That's it. So we do plan to have, I think one of the mentors of the Young Lions is a police officer with LMPD, and he will be the only person that may have a firearm on the bus with us. And they also have security that they provide, World Strides does, for all of us while we're there. But obvious stuff that I have to say. Okay. Miss Duenas reached out to Chef Edward Lee. He's a famous chef. He's been on what's the cooking channel and
Top Chef.
Top Chef. Thank you. All those different type of shows. He has a few restaurants in Washington D.C. And like Mr. Duenas, he is a Brooklyn native. He has agreed to cook. And this is something that the other people who are doing the extra stuff cannot do with us unless they pay. But he has agreed to cook for us. All of the young lions, the official young lions and the official chaperones has agreed to cook for us at one of his restaurants while we are there in Washington, D.C. So with that being said, we are also going to do an etiquette class for all of our young lions to teach them the difference between a salad fork and a meat fork and all that good stuff. I don't know it myself, so I'm going to be sitting in also. And also, when the young lions come back home and say, hey mom, hey dad, that's not the right knife or fork that you're supposed to be using, don't get on them. You're like, okay, well tell me something. What else am I supposed to be doing? How am I supposed to be eating this meal? What napkin am I supposed to be using? So, let's see. And that's pretty much it. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I've heard rumor that you all are opening the trip to the sixth graders as well.
We are not opening up the trip to the sixth graders. Unless you are a family member of a young lion, then, and you want to pay to have them go, then you can go. A relative of a seventh grader. Mr. Gunn, Mr. Robert Gunn, said that he wanted this to be an experience just for the seventh graders, a special experience for them. So, now I do know that we have a seventh grader who has an incoming sixth grader. I think they're going with us because they wanted it to be an experience for them. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Some of us parents have gotten together and started fundraising.
Okay.
We did the altitude park, trampoline park yesterday. We're trying to come up with different things. We have baskets that we're, thinking of auctioning off. We're still trying to get the prices of it, all of that stuff. We just need, a lot of parent participation. It can't be the same 5, 6, 7 parents. We need everybody to help us.
You recording this? You getting this? Because what's happening is I wanted to make sure that we documented this meeting that we had today so we can post it. It's going to be posted. I'm going to ask Mr. Gunn if we can post it on the school website. It's also going to be, if you're not a member of, if you don't use Facebook and you're not a member of the Du Bois Facebook page, you really should consider it. Because a lot of information Ms. Dueña is really on top of it. She's the controller of that webpage or that site, and a lot of information is on there. Great information for parents.
We also have a parent page too.
What's the page?
Parents.
Parents.
I didn't find out till the school year about that. I was
So
a
a
little
lot of
like,
the information is shared on the wall page, is also shared inside the parents and online page. And we also talk about fundraising activities inside of this page too. If
Yes.
you want to use it, talk and chit chat.
I posted it, I was like, this would have been nice. So the whole school year.
Okay.
Cause this is good information.
That we also, because we have young boys that don't come home with information, a lot of times it's shared, and we get to the bottom of the information. So that alleviates some of the, you sending your child to school and be like, what's today, or instead of dress down day today, or what about this meeting today? So it's a good source of information. We as parents share our concerns. We celebrate our kids on that page. And it is also, as we get closer to August, some fifth grade parents are dwindling in as well. So, the first post is to introduce you and your young lion, and then you can just scroll through and see all the children. I mean, some threads end up with over 100 comments because we're going back and forth as parents, communicating, whereas, other parents or other schools or whatever, you just left in the dark and you find out that day of, or you send your child to school and they be like,
I have 2 offices, and my schedule will be next school year. It's not yet because the school up the way off Indian Trail isn't ready for us yet. But at the beginning of the school year, I'll be at Male on Monday and Tuesdays, and then I'll be at the boys on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and they'll have alternating Fridays. But if you leave them with the front office, if I'm not here, they'll be more than happy to take any donations that you have. Please, if you do leave something, make sure that you leave who you are and what the items are, because I have to document any donations that I receive for this time. So. Yes, ma'am.
It's been so long since I've seen that table, so excuse me with this question, but does the trip include, visit to the new?
We are in the process of working on that. The problem is that that's something that we have to pursue on our own, and by we, I mean me. I reached out to the African American Heritage Museum, and they said that we have to request the tickets a few months in advance. So I set myself a note on my Outlook calendar to request those tickets. So based on how many students we have registered at that time, and I think it's in October, and I'll be reaching out to them, then I'll try to get those tickets. And the same is just a moment. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, because you're talking about you have to put that in to our suburban joints. Will we be able to receive those damn packs?
Yes, we will. We will. I've already talked to the folks at World Strides about that trip, and what I was going to say, we also want to visit Howard. Thank you. Howard University, and Frederick Douglass's home, I believe, is also in Washington, D.C. And I've been telling them, like, we're a predominantly school of color, and those things are of interest to our young lions. In addition to, you know, when you always go to D.C., you always see Abraham Lincoln, you always see the Washington Monument, those things. We want to see additional things as well. So they understand our concern. Any other questions? 30 minutes. I'm good. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming out on this Saturday morning. Make sure, again, if you were late coming in,
I guess we gotta.
if you were late coming in, and your young lion is one of the,
Does it go evenly to all boys?
if you have, I'm sorry, yeah.
No, she was asking, when will we find out how the money is gonna be divided for the chocolate? And that's my question for all fundraisers. Is it divided equally for any child that have a balance, or is based on the child?
That was asked earlier, and that's something I'm gonna have to talk with Mr. Gunn, Mr. Robert Gunn about, and the bookkeeper. What I envision happening is this money goes towards the 7th graders, and I met with the gentleman who does this yesterday, and what I envision happening is there's a competition with the incoming 6th graders and the 7th graders to raise money for whatever we do with the 6th graders and whatever we do with the 7th graders. Oh, I forgot to tell you all. Okay. Please do not let the information that I'm about to tell you deter you from going to Washington, D.C. Because this is the control group. This is the information that we are going to use to base on the next trip. We are trying, oh, I probably shouldn't say this. Good. Okay, I talked with Mr. Gunn about our inaugural Young Lions to go to Canada for the 8th grade. So we're still in the process of working on that. Please, like I said, I know it's a financial burden to try to do trips like this every year, but we're trying to alleviate that, and if this is a success, that's going to determine if we get to go to Canada. And what I would love to see 2019, 2020 is for all 150 something of our seventh graders to go to Washington DC. That's our goal, and I'm not the only person that shares in that. And I know that some families are not financially able to. So I appreciate those of you who have wanted to do the fundraising to try to help everyone to go. Those who really sincerely need the help. So, and I'm going to become a part of that. Yes, ma'am.
As a chaperone, I just want to throw this out there, and I don't want to step on nobody's toes or offend nobody. I'm a mama first, so I'm gonna correct your child. Bottom line, I would throw my name out there, the phone number. I did it when we went up to the museum in Cincinnati and told them, I'm about to correct you. You tell your mama to call me if you got a problem with it. I cannot let my child misrepresent me outside of the home. I will not let your child do me like that. So, I just want to throw it out there now. I don't want nobody to be offended with me, and send me no inbox. I'm just telling you now, I'll give you my number, because I'm going to correct your child. I believe it takes a village.
Yes.
I ain't going to let your 13-year-old child come to me like, they're a grown man. I'm going to put my cousins in chokeholds and put them to sleep. I'm going to do your child like that, but I will correct you. So, I am a firm believer that it takes a village. So, if you don't correct your child at home, and I correct them and they talk back, I'm going to talk to your child like they mine, and I'm just, don't be offended. I'm just putting it out there now, so it shouldn't be no surprises come field trip time. Because I'm telling you, I don't let mine disrespect me. I will not let yours disrespect me, and I will not let yours disrespect the school. Just throwing it out there, I just want you to know it's current.
Thank you.
Yes,
As
Mr. Price.
far as other fundraising ideals, because I'm not good at organizing stuff, but if I talk to people, they come up with a great idea for us, who can I contact? Would it just be the parent or somebody else to fill
That
out
would
the
be
information to?
the parents, and I hope, and I sent a message to Mr. Robert Gunn about, he didn't respond because he was on vacation. I would like to see a PTA or PTSA in the not too distant future for our school, so that, these decisions can be decided upon by them. I'm new to this position, and I asked my director, can I do fundraising? I don't feel comfortable doing fundraising, but I will, and that's probably my speed right there, is those candy bars.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say, like, the candy bars, like, how do I know that's an approved thing
When,
to do, or certain
when I
things
talk,
that are-
when we get clearance from Mr. Gunn and also, Ms. Coleman, I want to make sure that she'll be able to receive the funds and everything for that, and how we're going to distribute it for the trip, then we will emanate that information. Who all got my email with us now? Okay. If I didn't get your email, that means that either I typed it wrong, or that we don't have a current contract for you. And that's something that you always want to make sure that is up to date, especially if something's going on with your young mind, so that we can reach you. Yes, sir?
I just wanted to tell everyone, I had spoken to the athletic director right when they started the basketball team about trying to get a booster club started for them, and that would be another good way to constantly fundraise year-round. Besides the PTFA, we have a booster club. A lot of the other successful schools here in Jefferson County have booster clubs, and they have a lot of their athletics and outside activities paid for just through that booster.
I'm a president of the Club in Georgia for that man, and I think being a new school, it's a lot of red tape, a lot of, Jefferson County has rules, even like with the fundraising.
Yeah.
We were told that in the red book, Jefferson County red book, this is like their guidelines, that you can't, if you fundraise as a group, you can't say, but only A, get this fund, only B, because they participated, as a general fund, and we just dispersed amongst the whole team. So, I mean, it has a lot of, you have to have bylaws, those things like that. So, I mean, it just basically, we have to have 100% parental support. being that we only have 150 boys. Next year, having 300 boys, we still have to have a big support from the parental base to start booster clubs. Because you can get 10 people, but when you have 300 students, those 10 people can't represent every activity and every child. So I guess my plea is, again, is just parents get involved. You know, when we come here, some of us receive the same parents. It takes the village, and our kids need their village to step up and be here. We start out with the small fundraisers, then we can build to the big ones. I know we discussed last night when the sixth graders come on board, having skating parties to bring money in. We have things that we wanna do like Aptitude Night. Would have been more of a success if we had more individuals to reach out to and be able to include all the young lions. So with the booster clubs, they do work, but those schools that have them have graduated to that point. But right now, I just think that booster club is, to us, our little legs taking a giant step, and we're not quite there yet.
It's setting the organizational structure is what I'm talking about, so that we can learn to communicate with one another. If you don't set the structure in place from the beginning, you'll never have it. So that was my suggestion, is if you begin with that kind of structure, then you know what you're trying to build to. If you come out with no goals and no expectations, then there's no structure, and things tend to just kind of flop around when you don't have that structure. Like I said, now, we don't even know how to contact one another.
I'm sorry, anyone in this room who received a UAS scholarship for the trip that has not received a form? Okay. Any other questions before we dismiss?
Any of the kids that received the junior scholarships, parents declined the trip?
I do not know.
Or is there a deadline for them to become active in this registration process before, this scholarship is, because that was 2 months ago, almost a little short of 2 months.
Well, to be honest, it's like, we had to, because parents were reaching out to me, asking me, how do we register? And so, I finally was able to convince Worldside, hey, this money is guaranteed, so you got red tape to distribute the money to you all. Can we give the parents something so that you all will know this child is registered for this trip, and so this is what they came up with. So I would say, if we want to put a deadline on it, that's something I have to talk with Mr. Gunn about. I do understand your point, though. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, have a question? Well, if there's nothing else, thank you all for coming out again today. I will be here until they tell us that we can start moving over to the new facility at Liberty. So feel free anytime to stop by. My office is down this hallway on the right, look for the sign that says Youth Service Center. That's where I'll be. Thank you very much.
You don't even pause it.